Violent crime numbers have been trending downward for the better part of about 30 years now. But local law enforcement say they are growing increasingly frustrated by the number of repeat offenders committing crimes. The State Fraternal Order of Police recently posted on Facebook highlighting at least one criminal who they felt should have been in prison much longer. Though defense attorneys say it's not always that simple. Valley News Team's Kirsty Madej has more in this VNL investigation.
It's concerning and frustrating for law enforcement officers who put their own safety at risk to protect our communities when it's a revolving door effect.
Aaron Moss is a member of the North Dakota Fraternal Order of Police, and he's frustrated about what he says is a growing number of repeat offenders they deal with.
It just creates a perfect storm of lack of safety for our communities. These people are returned to our communities without sufficient community supports. It turns into what appears to be a numbers game in reducing recidivism without reducing actual risk.
He says the issue is caused by a variety of reasons, including a lack of community support for mental health and addiction issues, a lack of truth in sentencing, and offenders who he says willfully reoffend.
The real method is to have the carrot in front of the horse, to get the person to change their behavior by suspending some of that time. And ultimately, that's a good thing because it leads the vast majority of people to change that behavior.
However, defense attorney Lindsay Haugen says it makes sense to reduce jail time for lower-level offenses. For example, it helps to prevent overcrowding in jails. And he says there are already laws on the books that create stricter punishments for repeat offenders.
It would be a mistake to overreach and penalize the lower-level offenders where the system is working. It should be modified, if need be, to address those individuals where it's not working, and a stiffer sentence would be warranted.
Haugen says we should be cautious when it comes to addressing the problem of repeat offenders.
Take a look at smarter sentencing, not just longer sentencing.
In Fargo, Kirsty Madej, Valley News Live.
All right, so since Kirsty's story first aired this evening, the North Dakota Fraternal Order of Police shared that story on Facebook with an important clarification directed at the defense attorney, who I think may agree more than they realize. It reads in part, quote, "We aren't talking about stuffing the jails with low-level offenses. We're talking about persistently dangerous offenders, some with multiple decades of felony offenses, others racking up scores of cases in short amount of time, being returned to the community dangerously early, too often committing more crimes when previous sentencing, if truthful, would have had them in prison," end quote.